Thank you for staying with us in Talking Points. We're receiving the woman Emmanuel. He's a teacher and civil society activist. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much, Babila. It's been a while, so I first of all start by congratulating you people for the beautiful work you have been doing for Cameroonians and the world at large. Happy New Year.
Thank you, same to you. We begin in the southwest regional chief town, Boya, a 93-year-old woman consumed by flames with her 9-year-old child. And one thing that comes up again and again, and which Derek Jato, correspondent in Boya, mentioned in his report, is the absence of the rescue unit in Boya.
Yes, Mr. Babila Jonathan, it's pathetic. It's lamentable. But since we are in Cameroon and we are used to such atrocities, we can only doff our hearts and share our heartfelt condolences to such families. You see, in a country that wants to be moved by people who cannot move, that country cannot move, Mr. Babila. It's time we should be moved by those who can move. Because if you cannot move, you cannot move the country. How do you explain the fact that in a regional headquarters like Boya, we don't have a firefighter brigade to rescue the people at the needed point? It is not only in this domain. Cameroonians are lacking in many other domains, which is simply explained by the fact that in Cameroon, those who know nothing are put to do almost everything. And so everything turns out to be a sham. And that is
because
why
what it becomes a little difficult for citizens to understand is the fact that in a town like Boya, a regional head office, a regional headquarters that you indicated, there is no rescue unit, and it is the same situation in some other parts of the country. For example, in Chang, there's no rescue unit. When the accident occurred at La Falaise, rescue soldiers had to leave from Bafoussam. Before arriving there, the flames had consumed everything, and they arrived there, they were under-equipped. They had to be depending on help from some individuals who were
from
there,
the local population,
using some buckets to fetch some water and all of that. How?
You see,
what's the problem? Is it management or what?
It comes back to what I said from my opening word, that this country needs to be moved by people who can move. If you cannot move Babila, you cannot move the country. You see, we have all sit-tight squirrel leaders in Yaoundé, whom for quite a long time have never had a moment to think of how Cameroonians are faring. That is why they think that life begins and ends in Yaoundé.
But you are saying that you're saying that the authorities are not moving. That's why the nation is not moving.
Yes.
Maybe you can explain that, what you mean by moving, because we have been seeing the Minister of Territorial Administration almost everywhere. Wherever there is trouble, even when there's no trouble, he's there to talk with the people, to talk with the authorities on the ground, getting information from them,
to
and
talk
so
with the voices and the girls in the bushes,
and other authorities who have also been visiting different parts of the country. And so
if the Minister of Territorial Administration forms part of the leaders in this country who cannot move, and then they are trying to move the country. People don't usually move only on their legs, they move with their brains. When we have ministers that do not foresee, that they rule the people by imagination, by speculation, we get the results that we're getting from Boya. Do you think somebody like the Minister of Territorial Administration, whom I personally do not like to talk about him because he has very little or no impact on a positive note for Cameroonians. He is part of the problems that Cameroonians are really having in their hands, because each time he opens his mouth, he doesn't weigh what comes out of it.
How can somebody be trying to solve problems and he is the problem?
No, he is the main problem, because in trying to solve one problem, that minister creates at least 10 problems, only with his own words. He has what we call mouth diarrhea. You know, each time he opens his mouth, he provokes the population the more. Where we are in Cameroon at this particular moment, we need people who speaks wisdom. We need people who speaks appeasement. We don't need people who comes out to tell us that we have a cane to whip our buttocks so that we sit up. At this particular point in time, we need wisdom, not even knowledge again. And the paradox in this whole comedy republic called Cameroon is that those who are placed to do everything are almost practically those who know nothing. And so when they come out, they think that we are still in the 90s, when the Cameroonians could easily be fooled and blindfolded around. No, Mr. Babila, we have gone ages. We see, we hear. We are not visually impaired. We see. We have visibility. We know that it is not working with our country. And until the right people are put on the right places, until those who can move are put into positions to move Cameroon, we are in a stagnant position. That is why you see what is happening in Boya. That is why you see we are losing compatriots every day, simply because firefighter brigades are never on time. And it is not the fault of these people, the actors of the firefighting brigades. It's simply because those who are in command are giving a wrong command, and they are never timely, Mr. Babila. I should tell you that.
Let's talk about the military crackdown on separatist fighters or pro-independence fighters in two English-speaking regions of the country. In the last operation, two leaders of the fighters were brought down in the southwest region, and that came after the Boya-Kumba road was blocked by confrontations, gun battles between the separatists and the military, and you were heading to Kumba from Boya last Thursday, and you had to go back to Boya because of the gun battle. Can you just tell us what you saw, what you heard around the
Balangi? Balangi, Ediki, because from Ediki to Balangi is not too far. You know, I had a program to send a document out of the country from the NZ Kumba. Fortunately for us, the car that we took, we had a father there that was permanently on communication with the kids back at home. Like, he had a sentiment. So at one point he asked the driver to stop at around Ediki. The driver wanted to insist. He asked the driver to drop him that ahead.
There's trouble.
He made calls. He put his phone on the loudspeaker. We heard the children crying that there was terrible shootout between the military and the pro-independence fighters. So at that time the driver had to turn, because we met a few military men who were so kind to us, let's be honest, who told us that from the information they're getting from their colleagues in Kumba, we should not continue. But if we are continuing, it is at our own risk, because they don't know what will be the turnout of the shootout. So we had to turn back, and I had to pass the night in Boya before the next day I continue with my journey. But coming back to your original question about the crackdown and the killing of the separatists, they are not the first generals that have been killed, and they will not be the last. On this same platform, on Equinox Talking Point with Babila Jonathan. I told you that killing, guns don't speak. Guns only kill. What we need at this particular point, we need a genuine voice of reason. And until those who are thinking that they are the leaders or they are ruling this country come to terms with the fact that voice of reason, genuine voice of reason, is what can stop this crisis, each day we will be killing a general and another general will be shooting like a new shoot of a plant. And I want to tell you, Babila, that we are in a mess. If you visit the town of Boya and Kumba, you will discover that ammo cars are more than the yellow taxis that transport people in the morning, afternoon, and in the evening. That is the investment that my country, the government of my country, has chosen to invest on ammo cars. Whereas words and voice of reasons are less costly than these ammo cars that are being bought every day. And these ammo cars are not bought to protect the gullible population. They are bought to protect those who are at the helm of affairs in this country. What a pity. My country is wallowing in blood.
Ammo cars are more than
the yellow taxis on the streets.
The cabs on the streets of Boya.
Sure.
Is that not gross exaggeration?
No,
not amplifying the military presence in those areas?
Well, there's no gainsaying, and it will not be hyperbolic. You are a journalist and a respected one at that. Now you know that moving an inch in Boya Kumba, you meet with the military. Do you think that the military that are flying, they don't have wings, Mr. Babila? They are moving in cars.
The authorities say that they are there to protect the population.
Yes.
And the territorial integrity of this country.
That is what, look, Mr. Babila, one message I am sending to this regime of Yaoundé today is that it is better to lose power saving lives than to lose lives to stay in power. You gain glory when you lose your power to save lives, so that those lives you have saved live to see you and testify that he surrendered his post because he did not want any further bloodshed, than to stay in power for 100 years and see 1 million people being killed. It is not glorious. It is not honorable, Babila.
The third deputy senior divisional officer of the Meme division said that the killing of the separatist leaders or the fighters is a sign that the military is not sleeping. It is doing its work, and its work of restoring peace and normalcy in those two regions. What do you think about this?
No, I think he's right in what he's saying. It's the language of the regime. You have heard time without number that normalcy has returned to northwest and southwest. But I bet you, these same people who say normalcy has returned to northwest. Let me take, for example, the Minister of Territorial Administration. Bamenda does not end in upstation, Mr. Babela. Tell him to go to Bamenda. Go to Mile 2 after a moment to his compound. I know his compound personally. Walk free as I do. Drive his personal car as I can do. And then come back and tell us that there is normalcy. Then all of us shall go back to Kwakwa. All of us shall go back to Idiki. All of us shall go back to Fundong, walking free without fear of bullets. These people has a way of ruling Cameroon. And you know, I call it permit me to say, the CPDM Bible. The first chapter of this CPDM Bible to the last chapter begins with lies tellings and ends with lies tellings. That has also been codified as part of the characteristics of patriotism in Cameroon. If you want to be a patriot in Cameroon, you must learn to lie and lie very well. You must learn to sing a particular name and sing it so well. You must learn to be able to glorify another God and glorify it so well, and that is why we remain where we are today and we are not moving an inch. Things are not getting better, Mr. Babila.
Are you saying that? Are you saying that when the Minister of Territorial Administration, for example, says President Paul Biya has won the war against terrorism, it's a lie?
No, President Biya cannot give President. I'm praying. I'm one of the Cameroonians who is praying that Paul Biya should stay longer and see what he left for Cameroon as legacy. Give President Biya another 100 years of life, he will never win the war. No country wins a war against its population. I remember in 2014, just briefly, I contributed against Boko Haram in the far north. And I cried when I used to follow morning safari, and I heard that a young man fell with a gun and cried to their colleague that pick up my gun so that my gun shouldn't fall into the arms of the enemy. I contributed because we were fighting an external enemy. But I want to tell you something. I have brothers who are military men. I will not hide it, because for those who know me, they know. When you talk with them, it is not their wish or their will to remain on the field and to be shooting, because they receive command from somewhere. They are already tired. They are waiting for the person who declared this war to stop the war, so that they can also have rest, because they are not resting. They are not resting, Babylon. All of us, we are into this mess together.
Right. So, in your opinion, killing the separatist fighters,
that's not
not solving the problem.
It's not solving the problem. The lone solution to this problem, voice of reason. Talk to those who matter. These people will come back to their senses, because some of them did not pick up the guns because formally they wanted to. I don't want to go to the genesis of the problem, because Akum Julius, who was the first civilian to go down, was never an amber boy. He never had guns. He had only pen and his books. I was coming back from school. He was in the agric engineering department of University of Bamenda. But when we want to stop a war, we don't keep counting corpses. I have repeatedly said it is never too late to stop the war. Beg for forgiveness from the people. Because first of all, what is leadership? Leadership means services. When it is only in Cameroon that a leader sees himself as a demigod, and then the people should instead glorify him. On the contrary, whereas he was supposed to glorify the people he claimed, the people put him there. It's pathetic.
Ndiwum Emmanuel, teacher and civil society activist, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Mr. Babila. It's my pleasure.
Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. Serge Along to is already on his seat, and Equinox will be coming up next.
Equinox Télévision, au-delà de l'image, nous rendons compte.
7 conseils pour se protéger contre le nouveau coronavirus. 1. Lavez-vous